Good morning, everybody. My name is Dr. Patrick Flynn, the Hormone Whisperer. Welcome to the Good Morning Quick Tip. I'm so excited to be here. It's a beautiful Saturday morning. We just got back from a wonderful trip in Nashville. Got back late last night, but I'm here nice and early this morning, coming at you live to go through something that actually was kind of meaningful to me, but also a little bit disturbing, GMO food labeling. So we're going to have some good time today. I'm going to set the tone for today. Today is not really more of an education, but more of actually my personal opinion, okay? One thing that I've always tried to do with everything that I've always taught, that if I give you, how can I say, just going through educational purposes, I like to actually always keep things there well documented. Not that most of the stuff I talk about isn't documented. I'm just going to throw my opinion in there because, for example, this is something that kind of threw me for a little loop. Not in a bad way. I'm passionate about what we put into our bodies. So when I actually discovered things that were going on with labeling that way, it was kind of frustrating. So today, for example, I'm going to give you a combination of my opinion with well-documented things that are to do with food labeling. But I want to say, thank you for all you guys that constantly watch. I want to thank you for all you guys that showed up to the Hormone Connection Seminar in Nashville. It was a great time. I want to thank Dr. Courtney and Justin for hosting it, having us down there. It was a wonderful time. It was a beautiful time. So what we're going to do today, we're going to talk about GMO food labeling today. All right. Now, why is it so important? All right. That's the big thing. Well, how it all stemmed was quite easy. It stemmed from actually when I was, as people know, I travel a lot. All right. I get to travel all over the country, see beautiful places, hang out with beautiful people, do wonderful things, share a great message. But I have to eat. All right. And it's very important that when we eat, that we do the right things. People say, I see this all the time. This even happens a lot in the Wisconsin area, to where people will do good things during the week because they're at home, but then they'll go up north or they'll go camping, and then their normal, habits just fall apart, and then they really gain a lot of weight and cause inflammatory things to go on just from simple weekends. There was one time that Nicole had a patient that literally, she did extremely well during the week, and on the weekend she said she had to live a little bit, and she'd gained 3 to 4 pounds minimally over the weekend, and then she was frustrated why her care was only progressing slowly. Well, once again, you got to be careful when you do certain things because you don't want to be inflammatory. So, but there's a lot of things that a lot of people just don't know. So when I found out that 5 years ago that Whole Foods did a great job of committing to actually labeling GMOs. Now, they're wrong. They got a lot of pushback. I'll show you why they got a lot of pushback initially, but they pushed through. They said, listen, it's very important for the consumers to know what they do. So I want to, and this is my opinion, okay? This is not a pro or against GMOs, okay? This is not today's topic. Today's topic is about GMO food labeling. As a lot of people know, I'm hugely involved in politics. I love politics, okay? And I'll give you my stance right here on politics. I think both Democrats and Republicans are a bunch of morons, okay? I'm going to explain to you today how they're a little bit of moronic that way, and here's why. I've always said this. The only time that Republicans and Democrats actually talk about the Constitution is when they're not breaking it, okay? Otherwise, they're always breaking it. So my whole idea involving myself in politics, because politics and healthcare are very intertwined. That's why I love politics, but it was also one of my loves as a young man and also through college and actually what we do today. So I've actually fought for people's rights. This is the whole idea of today, is about our civil liberties, okay? I want you to be able to eat a GMO if you want to. That's going to sound funny, okay? Because now, personally, my opinion is they're poison and they should never be eaten. Actually, I can back that by facts, but this is not a pro or against GMO or topic. But the idea is this: if you want to eat them or not, you should have your civil liberties to be able to choose that, okay? This is not a communist country. I would never want to force anybody to do something they want. But on the flip side, the average person doesn't understand, doesn't know, so they should know what's in their foods. And that's the key thing. So when Whole Foods, which I get to travel a lot, I regularly stop there. I still do. I always will. But the difference is I understand ingredients. The average mom or dad that actually works 40, 50 hours a week and does great things for the family can, understanding foods can be life consuming. The reason why it's consuming is because, once again, there's so many things to know. There's so many things to do. There's so many ingredients that way. You don't know if they're GMO, if they're organic, things like that. That's why food labeling is so important. So then all of a sudden, when I found out that that GMO, the Whole Foods pulled back their regulations and things that they were going to do to actually label them, I was quite disappointed. So I wrote an article about it. You can check out the article on our website at thewellnesswayclinics.com. It was heartbreaking. See, this is the part of my opinion. It was extremely heartbreaking because I've been a very big component of Whole Foods. It's not that Whole Foods has everything perfect in there. It's just that Whole Foods had the majority of things. It was probably one of the places you could go that could actually really do a good job. Now, once again, will I boycott Whole Foods? No. I mean, I think this is kind of funny, okay? Now, let's go back to this. Let's even go back to politics this way. I don't think the government should be able to force any private business to do anything. I just, for example, when Whole Foods came out and said that they were actually going to be more transparent and let people know and make it mandatory for their products to be labeled GMO, I thought there was a great step for the consumer to give them an opportunity to choose. Give them an opportunity to choose what's going on that way, okay? If Whole Foods chooses not to do it, that's fine. They're a private business. I was just hugely disappointed in them because if they're going to stand for health, if they're going to stand for what's right, if they're going to stand for giving people transparency and choices, and if they want to put a GMO food into them, let them. See, this is not, once again, this is not for me to tell you to do GMO foods or not. Once again, it's actually you having the choice, okay? Now, once again, so I wrote an article. You can check it out about the massive disappointment. Now, I wasn't nice to Whole Foods. Now, the funny part is this. I have to travel to Orlando, Florida, and speak my last, one of my last seminars till the fall is actually going to be in Orlando, Florida. I think it's on the 18th, whatever that Monday is, Brandon. So if you're in the Orlando area, come see the Hormone Connection there. I'll be down there with our doc and friend, Dr. Dan Yachter. It's going to be a lot of fun. And so what happened is, one of the first things I'm going to do is go to Whole Foods. I love that Whole Foods there, but I understand labeling. I can take a label and look at it and within seconds know if there's a GMO food or not in there. And Whole Foods does have some things that are not good for you there. Because a lot of people, what they'll do is when they first start the health venture, they'll go to a health food store, they'll go to Whole Foods, and they'll actually just grab anything off the shelf and think it's okay for you. Well, that's not really true. So that's my big thing, guys. The whole thing, for example, I'm always looking for companies that are willing to do things that are right that way. Chipotle, okay? Chipotle did a wonderful job and said, listen, we're just going to make everything non-GMO, and that's how we're going to do it, okay? Now, here's what happens. So then when they did that, everybody attacked them. Why did they attack them? Well, there was an underground, actually, campaign against them from other companies, all right? That's like, we're talking Wisconsin, baby. We're gonna get into some things that are going to tick some of the farmers off here in Green Bay today. Because, once again, we're in the second largest farming state next to California, all right? So here's what happens. So once again, I just want people to know that what's in their foods, and it should be labeled that way. So what's the big deal about this whole GMO thing? Well, let's actually break it down and why I believe people should actually have the food labeled GMO or not. Because this is actually what a GMO is, okay? This is actually the definition. All right, here we go. GMO are genetically modified organisms. Hold the phone right there, okay? Genetically modified, not normal. Let me say it again, not normal. Give you an example. There is no such thing as a GMO in nature. It can be planted there, but there was nothing that ever existed about this. See, a lot of people say, well, Doc, no, there's been GMOs for a long time. No, there hasn't. There's been cross-pollination. Yeah, example, you can breed two different breeds of dogs and come up with a different breed, but that's cross-breeding. That's not genetically modifying and changing the structure of the DNA. So just understand, how they do this. Now, our living organisms whose genetic material has been artificially manipulated in a laboratory through genetic engineering. Guys, we used to tell stories about this when we were kids. It was called Frankenstein. Think about this. That's why if you ever think about this, GMOs are basically Frankenstein-based foods. I can't even call them foods because foods are what exists in nature, okay? Once again, you can't grow GMOs in nature. You say, well, Doc, that doesn't make sense because you have GMO cornfields. No. What I'm saying, for example, is this. each GMO seed has to be modified. It doesn't exist. It doesn't replicate that way, okay? You can't all of a sudden get these things to pollinate and actually produce all over the world. It doesn't work like that, okay? These are actually genetically engineered. The sad part is this, guys, think about this. Do you really think then our body understands what to do with them? It doesn't. And here's what we'll do. There are significant amount of studies showing it, okay? They've done this constantly. And here's the funny part. I have a very good friend who's a scientist who actually even gets government funding for science. He even showed me, for example, in the last 20 years, the amount of government funding has changed dramatically. Let me give you a real life example, and he used this example, and he still gets government funding for science today, okay? Now, he says, Doc, here's how science has happened. It's all about approving the status quo. For example, do you understand one of these big topics, which, for example, I won't get into because, liberals will go freaking nuts over this, and it's actually, once again, do you understand that 95% of all government funding for global warming goes for pro-global warming? So if you're a stance on pro, that's why you see so much pro-global warming stuff that way. Because 95% of the money goes to fund in that direction. Only 5% goes to go against what they're actually trying to show. And the funny part is, if it was 50-50, you would see more studies done on it that way. Because once again, why? But most of your government funding goes toward pro-global warming aspects that way. That's an imbalance of power. And you got to remember, and he said, listen, he goes, so how scientists continue to get money is actually continue on that same pathway, even if they find something that disproves it, because the government funding won't be there. And so once again, that's why when you look at GMOs that way, the majority of actual studies that are done are actually, once again, pushed in that direction, all right? And the hilarious part is, and they're nothing more than opinions. Here's the cool thing is this. I love how they'll take animals, and they'll do animal studies with GMOs, and what will happen is they'll just feed them GMOs, and they'll feed something normally, and the GMO animal is totally different. Liver toxicity is an all-time high. Kidney disease is an all-time high in the GMO animals. And here's their conclusion. It's inconclusive because there's other factors that could have caused this, including their genetic makeup. That's what they do. It's no different when I did it last week on the homemade bug spray, when they said, when DEET, D-E-E-T, and they said, it's unconclusive. We don't really know because it's multifactorial. I love it how when they actually don't want to come up with a result that they won't, they talk about there's multifactorial things that could cause this. No. If you feed the animal GMOs and it goes in a bad direction, there's your result. Heck, let's look at this. If you think of it this way, GMOs have been studied massively just as a population culture, even in the United States. We're going downhill big time. You know what I'm saying? And it's because a lot of us are consuming bad products that way. Okay? So once again, let's go on this great definition. This creates combinations of plants, animals, bacteria, and virus genes that do not occur in nature or through traditional crossbreeding. They do not exist in nature. Guys, once again, that just scare the heck out of you, okay? But let's leave it at this. All I want people to know is what a GMO is, and it should be labeled. Now, once again, here's the one thing why I believe it's actually such a big business today. Number one, because it can be patented. See, a patent, for example, exists to protect the rights of the inventor. Actually, it's kind of cool. You can actually go right on the patent website right there, on the government website, to know where to get a patent. So what is a patent? A patent is, here we go, here's the definition. A patent for an invention is granted of a property right to its inventor. There are three kinds of patents. This really blows me away. There's a utility patent, a design patent, and a plant patent. They actually have, see, people don't realize our food companies have become huge businesses for the purposes of patents, which means you can't do them. They own them. It's a business. See, that's when you look at it this way, they've actually created just even plant patents. There we go. I'm going to spit it out that way. And here's the definition of a plant patent. They may be granted to anyone who invents or discovers, okay? Who invents or discovers and asexually, this is not a joke, it's right here, asexually reproduces any distinct or new variety of plant. So basically, once again, you need to come up with an asexual Frankenstein. Okay? It's kind of crazy how this whole thing happens this way. This is right from their website, guys. This is something you can look up yourself. But once again, they're patented for the purposes of protection because it's a business. You know, it's really funny. You can't patent a natural substance. They try. They always try to manipulate us to do it that way. But why it can be reproduced in nature, you can't sue nature. You know what I'm saying? That's why these things cannot be patented. So that alone should scare the heck out of you that way. This is not a machine. This is actually things that go into our body that are quite important to our existence in our life. All right? So I believe that's the number one reason why GMO food labeling does not exist. Because once again, you have to dig deeper why it is. Because they're patented products. They don't exist in nature. They're genetically modified. Number two, it's political. The Department of Agriculture and Monsanto have a direct connection with food companies and all things like that. See, the one thing that people do not understand, agriculture is a big business. Guys, here's what happens. You know, there's such a big debate in politics. Government-run anything sucks. It always does, okay? It always goes in the wrong direction. So they've injected ourselves into our food, companies that way, in our food agriculture. And what happens? Now, big business can actually control it. Why? Money. It's really sad. There's a direct correlation between the Department of Agriculture and our business, okay, and actually our food business. Look at all the appointees. Look at, actually, it's kind of funny. Look at Obama's appointees. Look at all of them. And I don't care if you're Democrat or Republican. They all put the wrong people in charge for the purposes of profiteering. I would love to actually put somebody in power, for example, that actually has a basis for actually truly understanding the foods, not business. Because you wouldn't allow some of these things that happen out there and what it does to people's human health. All right, so there's a direct correlation between political. Now, I'll give you an example. A lot of people fight over Democrat, Republican that way. Well, I'm going to show you they actually had a vote about labeling GMOs, okay? They had a federal vote for it, and it lost dramatically that way. It was really sad. And so what I did, because I'm involved politically, what happens is that this time, Baldwin and Johnson, a Democrat and Republican, both voted no to label it. And here was their comments, was there wasn't any scientific literature to show that GMOs were bad. Oh, you're a moron. There's a ton of it. I actually sent it to you, okay? So here we go, Mr. Republican Johnson and Miss Democrat Baldwin. You guys are both moronic. You actually didn't read any research because I sent it to you, okay, in great detail that way. Because you can contact your senators. But here's the cool thing what happens. Look at where they get their money. Look where they get their money. See, that's where it can always come back to that way. See, that's why, for example, it doesn't matter if you're a Republican or a Democrat. They're both controlled by their special interest that way. You know what my special interest is for doing this quick tip? Is you, okay? I will consistently fight for what is right. I don't care if you eat GMOs. If you choose to, I fight for your civil liberties. But I also will fight for the people, the mom, for example, that's working 2 jobs, that actually the dad who's actually pushing like crazy, the mom and dad, for example, are just trying to raise a good family, that don't have time to run into the store, look at every food label, and take 2 hours to shop. All right? I believe it should be plain as day for people to see what they're consuming that way. So once again, thank your senators, Johnson and Baldwin here in Wisconsin. Now, once again, the Department of Agriculture here in Wisconsin is huge. GMO farming in Wisconsin is ridiculous. It's why we are an extremely toxic state. Because when you have GMOs, you have massive herbicides, glyphosate. But actually, I want to give it a little bit simpler. Roundup. For all of you guys, for example, you see recently, I did actually a video on dandelions. Dandelions are one of the greatest herbs on the planet for you that way. You can actually even pick them off your ground and eat them in a salad or even eat them directly that way. But what happens is this. What do you spray on them? Roundup. Okay? One of the most toxic, carcinogenic things on the planet that way. And that's what's sprayed on your food because GMOs have been genetically modified to resist its damage. And so guess what? The bugs get killed, but the plant doesn't. I'm going to be very, very, very cautious of Mr. Frankenstein food that can withstand a herbicide that's carcinogenic. It's pretty scary, okay? And that's why all these things are intertwined. Now, if you want to eat a GMO and you don't mind herbicides and pesticides, I am all for you. I will defend your right because I am a person of civil liberties. even when it comes to food. If you want to eat a Snickers bar, guess what? Go for it. I don't care, okay? Do I want you to eat it? No, okay, because I don't want you to get sick. But the idea is this. I still want you to know what's in the Snickers bar. I want you to know, for example, what is so important about these foods so you can make the right choices that way. Because most people, with the exception of emotional eating, which most people are emotional eaters, most people want to do the right things for their body. They do. They want to do the right things for their kids, but they just don't know. That's why food labeling. So forget about GMO food labeling. That's why food labeling is so important, so you as a consumer know what you're doing, okay? Second of all, so what can we do? See, you don't have to get involved politically like I do. I will fight. I will consistently be in these politicians' ears and things like that to do the right thing. But here's one thing you can do, okay? You can understand a little bit and actually move in a direction that's going to make the best choice that will move all companies. Here, let me give you this. I don't care what company you are. You could actually be, I was going to say Keebler, the Keebler Elves. You could be any food company, any of the major food companies, and guess what? Do you know how food companies change? By the almighty dollar, okay? So what you can do is move more towards your organic products, move towards more your non-GMO products, and over time, guess what will happen? The companies won't make them. See, you don't have to sit there on Capitol Hill and fight for this stuff. What you can do is you have more power than you think. You can actually move away from products, and your organic regulations have a little bit more power. Think about this. I love the massive regulations that organic products have to go through to put that symbol on there, but we don't have to label GMOs that could be Frankenstein food. Look at how stupid that is. They make good things go through great regulations, and they make bad things that have been proven to be bad. We can hide those. Think about the stupidity. You have to be a special kind of stupid senator to actually not understand this. Baldwin and Johnson, Republican and Democrat. Okay? Why don't you guys do what's right for once, all right? Instead of where you're getting your money from. It's very important. People are getting sicker and sicker all the time. Don't believe me? Look at the stats. And the cool thing about these stats is this. You know, our GMO foods and all these processed foods are all-time high for actually sold. Think about it. We are an all-time high for chronic illness that is preventable. 90+% of most conditions today are preventable by what we do, okay? But it's so sad because most of our public don't understand what the labels are and how to read them. Guys, what I want you to do is this. I want you to understand that when you actually, food labeling for you actually gives you a choice. When they don't label it, it doesn't give you a choice, even trying to do the right thing. So food labeling is so important. So when you start to actually use your dollars to buy the right things, guess what happens? Food labeling isn't needed when you start to buy the right things. If you put your money more towards inorganic products and things, or buy from your local farmers and ask them if they're using GMO products that way, you can actually bypass these things and your dollar speaks. See, that's the cool thing about this way. Instead of trying to pay politicians off, which most big food companies and most things happen that way in big corporate structures, is as us, as the little people, as they call us, guess what? We have a lot of power. I'm going to go to Woodman's today because we have friends coming over. I'm going to go to Festival Foods today. And yes, their aisles, for example, are not filled with good organic products. They have good areas there. I extremely like Woodman's and Festival because they have at least a good source of organics and different products that way. And that's where I shop. So I put my dollars there so that area can get bigger. If we all start to do that, food labeling, for example, would become very important to the consumer, to the company, because why? Because that's what people want, all right? So food labeling to me is very important. So I know we focused on GMOs because, once again, I was extremely disappointed in Whole Foods now pulling back, them actually causing their whole national brand, which they are the leader right now. See, once again, as the leader, there's certain expectations that people have of you. So Whole Foods, I'm speaking to you, okay? Just think. I will continue to support you because you have the most dominant aspect of organics there, and actually you have that. But what happens is you're taking the right steps to actually move in the direction that gave us as consumers a better way of doing things instead of taking so much time, okay, in order to actually learn all these labels. Think about the mom that comes in that wants to feed her kids extremely well, but doesn't have time to go through all this. Whole Foods, you actually were in the right direction, and now for you to see you pull back, I'm very disappointed. I'm disappointed not for myself, because I know the ingredients. I know what's toxic. I know what GMOs are, but the average person does not. The person that's coming in just to eat healthier could be eating at your place thinking they're doing well, and they're not. It's very sad. It's very misleading. And the only people suffering are the people that are trying to do the right thing. So, my opinion. I gave you some opinions today. I also showed some facts today that exist there today. Actually, I wanted to cover this in Durham. I'm going to do a quick tip on GMOs itself and pull out that massive research that we sent to the centers, okay? I actually will do it so you can actually have the references, so when you actually talk to no matter what state of the union you're in, if you're in California, if you're in Florida, if you're in Wisconsin, what you can send. Don't worry. Here's what happens. Here's the funny part is this. Most of your politicians won't listen to you. They won't, because once again, they're not governed by what's right. They're governed by who they're paid for. So, on that aspect, it's why, for example, we recently were actually approached to have sponsors for the Dr. Patrick Flynn Show. And guess what I told them? I told them no, okay? I told them no because, once again, I don't want a person telling me what I can do on my show. I don't want a person telling me what I can say. I don't want a person telling me if, for example, I can say this or that, or for example, if I disagree. Heck, I spoke at a Hormones Connection seminar, and there was a vendor there that I disagreed with as far as like how they publicly show things that way. And I said it in front of the crowd. Who cares? Once again, because I won't be wavered by there or not. They came to my actually seminar because, once again, the information I give is valuable and life-changing. Start doing the right thing. I wish that we had more companies that would just do the right thing regardless of, for example, the end result. So, it's kind of cool. As I'm teaching all these things, I'm going to bring up my 3 nephews. As you guys know, Brandon's behind the camera all the time. Brandon, come on up here because we got 2 other special guests today that are here with them. And this is Brandon's brothers. Come on, AJ and Sam. So it's kind of neat. I'm so proud to have a wonderful family. I got wonderful sisters. It's kind of hilarious because, as you guys know, I have 4 daughters, but I also have 4 nephews. All my sisters had boys. This is you guys have seen Sam on camera before, but this is AJ. This is my other nephew. You're going to be a freshman this year, right? Or 8th grade? 8th grade. 8th grade, that's right. He's going to be in 8th grade this year. He is a dominant basketball player. Both these guys are wonderful athletes. Brandon was actually a good athlete too. So this is my sister Kat's sons right here. AJ, Sam, and Brandon. Brandon's actually going to be going to chiropractic school at the time. Yep. But as you can see, for example, being a family, I have 4 wonderful daughters, and I have 4 nephews. We're missing my one nephew, Lakin, which is my sister Natalie's. But it's kind of cool when you have something that's important. Like I said, these young men right here, me and AJ were just discussing. I gave him an electrolyte drink, a good organic one that tastes good. Do you know what I'm saying? Because he's going to play basketball instead of actually Gatorade, something that's GMO processed product that way. Once again, we're going to give him something that actually is going to restore his body. Good for him because these young men are top athletes that way and want to give him something that's going to restore it properly. So once again, I love these boys. I love my other nephew, Lakin, who's actually over in Spokane, Washington, my 2 sisters. And we just want to say thank you, for example, always watching us. Thank you for always tuning in. This is our wonderful quick tip for today. My name is Dr. Patrick Flynn, the Hormone Whisperer, and now Brandon's got to run around and shut off the broadcast because he's going around sneak. You guys have an absolutely wonderful day. Enjoy the day, and once again, push for your good food labeling. Have a wonderful afternoon.